Welcome to Mr. Hutchings History, where the past comes alive. Let's dive into today's story.
All right, so we're diving into the Delano Grape Strike today.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of folks listening probably know the basics, about wages and working conditions that fight for farm workers' rights.
Right.
But we're really trying to get to the heart of it all today, to uncover what really fueled this historic movement.
Yeah.
And to do that, we're going to be looking at a fascinating source. César Chávez's own words from his 1966 article, The Organizer's Tale.
It's so interesting, because we tend to focus on like the tangible goals, right, of movements, like better pay, safer conditions.
Right.
But what Chavez really reveals in this article is a much deeper kind of yearning, something that goes way beyond just the material needs.
Yeah, he actually says that it was about something more than their material interest.
Right.
So what do you think he meant by that?
Well, think about it like this for a second. Imagine working tirelessly, back-breaking labor, but being treated as if you're invisible.
Yeah.
Almost less than human. Your work is essential, but you're denied basic respect and dignity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the reality that so many farm workers face.
Yeah, it's like their very humanity was being denied.
Exactly. And the strikers, they were demanding that recognition.
Right.
That fundamental shift in how they were perceived and valued by society. This wasn't just about grapes.
Yeah.
It was about reclaiming their dignity.
So it's about securing a sense of worth.
Absolutely.
Of being seen and respected for their contributions.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's fascinating how that desire for dignity fueled their resilience. Chavez writes about the younger generation of activists, even in the midst of hardship. They were looking ahead, thinking, where do we go from here? They weren't just focused on the immediate struggle. They were already envisioning a future where their community held real power.
So this wasn't just about surviving. It was about thriving.
Yeah.
Creating lasting change, not just for themselves, but for future generations.
Precisely. And that vision of collective empowerment took many forms.
Oh, yeah.
Strengthening community organizations, gaining political influence, achieving a greater degree of economic independence.
Right.
They were laying the groundwork for a more just and equitable society.
And you see that vision in how Chavez used symbols during the march to Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
Mexican and indigenous imagery alongside Catholic symbols. It was brilliant.
It was.
Yeah.
He understood the power of connecting their struggle to a rich cultural history.
Yeah.
And imbuing it with that spiritual weight.
It resonated deeply with people, especially those who had long felt marginalized and voiceless. It's like he was saying, we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for our ancestors, our culture, our very identity.
Exactly. And that message was amplified by their unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance, which was a tactic inspired by figures like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr.
This wasn't just a strategic choice. It was a reflection of their moral conviction. Right, like violence would have undermined the very justice they were seeking.
You're exactly right. And that commitment to nonviolence, it resonated with supporters nationwide. It helped to elevate the strike beyond just a local labor dispute and turn it into a national movement for social change.
Right.
People saw the inherent dignity and righteousness of their cause.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was really about so much more than just the material conditions.
It was.
It really gets to something deeper.
Yeah.
It really wasn't confined to the fields of Delano, this movement.
It wasn't.
Think about that national grape boycott. Millions of Americans refusing to buy grapes, in solidarity.
Right. It tapped into something much larger.
Yeah.
A sense of shared humanity and that yearning for justice.
It forced people to confront the reality of exploitation that was often hidden, from view.
Absolutely.
It became a touchstone for a broader conversation, I think, about fairness, equality, and the rights of all workers.
Yeah, people all across the country started asking themselves, where does the food on my table come from?
Right.
And at what cost?
Yeah. And that awakening had a ripple effect, I think.
It did.
Inspiring other movements for social change.
Right.
The tactics that the UFW employed, the emphasis on grassroots organizing, the strategic use of boycotts, those became blueprints for future campaigns.
Yeah.
From the environmental movement to the fight for LGBTQ plus rights, we see echoes of the Delano Grape Strike in so many struggles for justice.
It's remarkable how these farm workers who are often overlooked and marginalized ignited a spark that continues to illuminate the path toward a more equitable world.
It wasn't just about inspiring other movements.
Right.
What about like the concrete changes within the agricultural industry itself?
Oh, absolutely. The Delano Grape Strike, alongside the broader efforts of the UFW, eventually led to significant legislative victories. Like the California Agricultural Labor Relations Act of 1975, for instance, granted farm workers the right to collective bargaining.
Wow.
A historic breakthrough.
They literally changed the law of the land.
They did. And that had a tangible impact on the lives of so many farm workers.
Yeah.
You know, improved wages, safer working conditions, access to health care.
Yeah.
These were hard-won gains that directly stemmed from their struggle.
It's a testament to the power of collective action and the unwavering belief that a better future is possible.
Now, as we delve deeper into understanding this period, it's important to acknowledge that there are different historical interpretations of the movement.
Right, like different lenses through which we can examine the same events.
Exactly. The progressive school, for instance, championed by historians like Carrie McWilliams, focuses on the systemic exploitation embedded within American agriculture. They view the strike as a direct confrontation with that injustice, a challenge to the power structures that perpetuated inequality.
And then you have the social history perspective, with historians like Vicky Ruiz highlighting the crucial role of communal and family bonds within the movement. You know how those shared cultural and spiritual values rooted in Mexican and indigenous traditions provided strength and resilience?
It wasn't just about economic demands. It was about preserving a way of life honoring a shared heritage.
Then there's the revisionist school, with historians like Matt Garcia who offer critiques of Chavez's leadership style and advocate for a broader range of reforms, arguing that the focus on unionization may have inadvertently limited the scope of change.
They raise important questions about the complexities of leadership within social movements and the need for ongoing dialogue and adaptation.
And finally, you have the post-colonial perspective, exemplified by historians like Juan Gonzalez, who connect the strikes to the long history of exploitation and marginalization faced by Hispanic laborers in the United States.
They argue that the Delano Grape Strike wasn't an isolated incident, but rather a continuation of a centuries-long struggle for dignity and justice.
It's like each of these perspectives adds another layer to our understanding, a richer, more nuanced appreciation for the complexities of this movement.
It reminds us that history is not a static narrative, but an ongoing conversation, a tapestry woven from multiple threads.
And engaging with those different perspectives allows us to see the Delano Grape Strike not just as a historical event, but as a living legacy, a story that continues to unfold in the present.
And speaking of legacy, what stands out to you as the most enduring impact of this movement?
Well, what strikes me is how they shifted the national conversation about labor rights. It wasn't just about grapes. It was about recognizing the humanity of those who toil in the fields, those whose work often goes unseen and unappreciated.
That's a powerful insight. They brought the plight of farm workers into the public consciousness. You know, forcing society to confront the human cost of cheap food.
And that legacy continues to resonate today, especially as we grapple with issues of immigration fair trade and the ethical treatment of workers in a globalized economy. Makes you think about what other movements throughout history were really driven by that same yearning for dignity and respect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a universal human need, right? To be seen, to be valued for who you are and what you contribute.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an invitation for all of us to look beyond the surface, you know, of these historical events and really delve deeper into the motivations that fueled them.
Like, what were the driving forces behind the civil rights movement?
Exactly.
Or the women's suffrage movement?
Yeah.
What about the fight for disability rights?
Absolutely. Or even contemporary movements, you know? Black Lives Matter, the push for environmental justice, they all tap into that fundamental desire for equality and recognition.
They do. And I think when we understand the why behind these movements, it allows us to connect with them on a much deeper level, to appreciate their complexities and draw inspiration for the challenges we face in our own time.
I agree.
It's like holding a mirror up to history and seeing ourselves reflected in the struggles and the triumphs of those who came before us.
Yeah, it is a powerful thing.
Yeah, what lessons can we learn?
Right.
What strategies can we adapt?
Mm-hmm.
How can we build upon their legacy to create a more just and equitable world?
Those are the questions we should all be asking.
Yeah.
Because the fight for dignity and respect, it's an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's a relay race where each generation passes the torch to the next.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the heart of the Delano Grape Strike, I think the biggest takeaway is this. It wasn't just about grapes or wages or working conditions.
It is about something much deeper.
It was about dignity, respect, and that unwavering belief in a more just and equitable world.
And that is a legacy worth carrying forward.
Thanks for listening to Mr. Hutchings History. Keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.